Have you ever tried to plug like a heavy-duty 220-volt appliance into a standard residential 110-volt wall outlet?
I mean, you can try, but it's really not going to end well.
Right, exactly. The power supply is absolutely there, and the potential is immense, but the connection just fundamentally does not fit.
It just doesn't align at all.
And that is exactly what we see happening right now in this transition from military service to the civilian workforce.
Oh, 100%.
We have all these veterans carrying the operational equivalent of like 220 volts of technical skill, leadership, and discipline.
Right.
But when they submit a resume, those civilian human resources algorithms, which are basically the 110-volt outlets, they just
short circuit.
Exactly. They don't know how to read it.
That is a really highly accurate way to frame it. I mean, the HR filters are looking for very specific civilian keywords and industry certifications.
And military resumes don't have those.
Right. When they see a military evaluation report full of, alphanumeric operational codes and specialized jargon, they don't see a highly qualified candidate.
What do they see?
They see a risk, honestly, or simply a mismatch. And the tragedy is this translation gap leaves an extraordinary amount of talent just sitting on the sidelines.
While civilian industries are simultaneously facing, massive labor shortages.
Exactly.
Which is really the core of our deep dive today. We are pulling from the Chesterfield County, Virginia Career Guide, Volume 2, authored by Reverend Dr. Antonio Arnold.
Great resource.
It really is. And we're pairing that with several comprehensive skilled trade industry infographics covering everything from construction to electrical and masonry.
There's a lot of ground to cover.
There is. So our mission today, especially for you listening out there, is to build that adapter.
Right.
We are mapping out exactly how you translate those hard-earned military technical tasks directly into the civilian industry certifications and state licenses that command immediate employer recognition.
And, we should probably establish right up front that we aren't just talking about abstract theories here.
No, not at all.
We are grounding this in Dr. Antonio Arnold's actual career trajectory.
Yeah, let's talk about his background.
Well, if you look at his bio in the text, he is a retired U.S. Army veteran who didn't just transition into one sector. He successfully navigated federal and state corrections, law enforcement, education, ministry, and business leadership.
That's quite a resume.
It is. His trajectory is basically empirical proof that military training is not merely this baseline of discipline. It is a rigorous, direct educational pathway into almost every skilled trade we are looking at today.
Absolutely. And whether you are a veteran actively prepping for your transition or maybe a mentor trying to guide someone through this shift, this is for you.
Or even just someone curious about workforce dynamics.
Right. Because we need to look at what these civilian trades actually look like now. If you glance at the construction and skilled trades infographics in our stack of sources, it's immediately apparent that we are no longer just talking about swinging hammers.
Oh, not at all. The technological leap in the skilled trades over, say, the last decade has been exponential.
Right. The sources highlight technologies like BIM, which is building information modeling, along with drone site surveying, GPS-guided heavy machinery, and laser scanning.
It's all highly digitized now.
It is. And when I was reading through this, I realized this is precisely where the military veteran has an asymmetric advantage.
How so?
Well, think about it. If you were an intelligence analyst operating complex digital mapping software, or a logistics specialist tracking global supply chains, adapting to a 3D digital twin of a commercial building.
Which is essentially what BIM is.
Right, exactly. That is a highly lateral move.
It is a totally seamless cognitive shift. The technical aptitude required to operate, modern military communications arrays or radar systems, it maps directly to the spatial awareness required for modern trade technologies.
Right, the systems level thinking is already there.
Exactly. But it is vital to understand that civilian employers aren't just buying a veteran's ability to learn new software.
What else are they buying?
They are buying the operational discipline that was drilled into them from day one.
Oh, let's explore that connection, actually, because we often hear employers praise, military discipline in this very vague, almost patriotic way.
Right, like yes sir, no sir kind of stuff.
Exactly. But looking at the sources, this isn't just about showing up on time with polished boots. In the trades, discipline translates directly to risk management and safety compliance.
Precisely. I mean, on a commercial job site, military discipline equals strict adherence to OSHA standards.
The Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Right, because a safety violation or a collapsed trench or a critical quality error, it doesn't just trigger a fine.
It can shut down the whole project.
It can shut down a multi-million-dollar project for weeks or worse, result in fatalities. Veterans have risk assessment and safety protocols woven into their operational DNA.
Because they've had to.
Exactly. When an employer hires a veteran, they are calculating that this individual will rigorously enforce safety perimeters, correctly utilize personal protective equipment, and refuse to cut corners on building codes.
And that reliability has massive financial value for a company.
Huge value.
Which brings up a critical question regarding hierarchy and placement.
Okay.
There is this persistent myth that because a veteran lacks specific civilian industry context, they basically have to start at the absolute bottom of the ladder.
Right, fetching coffee and holding flashlights.
Exactly. But if a veteran has spent years managing troop logistics, conducting operational risk assessments, and supervising large teams, it seems like they are already performing the core functions of civilian site management.
They absolutely are. And veterans really need to understand they do not have to settle for entry-level roles if they know how to position their experience.
So how do those leadership skills transfer?
Well, the transferable leadership skills from military command map almost perfectly to civilian project management.
Like what specific roles?
If you look at the daily duties of a general contractor or a construction superintendent, I mean, what are they doing? They are managing complex supply logistics, maintaining rigid budget constraints, coordinating multiple specialized teams.
And enforcing site security.
Exactly. That is military command.
And the compensation for those roles totally reflects that level of responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
According to the guide, a construction superintendent commands a salary between $85,000 and $135,000.
It's fantastic pay.
And a construction project executive can scale from $140,000 up to $220,000 annually.
That's real money.
Yeah. So the leadership capability is already installed. The veteran just needs to acquire the specific industry context and the legal credentials to validate it.
Exactly. Knowing the skills transfer conceptually is really just the first phase. The second phase is the tactical roadmap.
Getting the actual paperwork done.
Right. How do you legally and administratively navigate the certifications and the state credentialing boards to actually get on the payroll?
And this is where the sources highlight the apprenticeship model, right? Across construction, masonry, plumbing, and electrical trades.
Apprenticeships are huge here.
Yeah, and veterans obviously know what an apprenticeship is generally. But what struck me reading through this is how uniquely structured these programs are to benefit transitioning service members specifically.
Right, because you aren't just avoiding traditional college debt.
Exactly. You are actively bypassing those standard HR resume filters we talked about earlier. You earn a wage, pair it with hands-on learning, and in many cases, you can utilize GI Bill benefits simultaneously to supplement your income during the training phase.
It is an incredibly strategic entry point.
But to even get selected for the most competitive apprenticeships, there are certain things you need first, right?
Yes. To secure immediate entry-level placement, there is a very specific stack of industry certifications you want on your resume on day one.
What are we looking at there?
Our sources point directly to the OSHA 10-hour and 30-hour construction certifications,
Right.
along with NCCER credentials, which is the National Center for Construction Education and Research, and standard first aid and CPR.
So if you're a veteran listening to this, getting those certifications before you even leave the service is essentially providing the civilian employer with a baseline guarantee of safety and operational readiness.
Exactly. It signals that you are legally and practically clear to step onto a high-liability job site today.
Wow, okay. Let's dig deeper into the legal requirements, though, specifically for the highly regulated trades.
Like plumbing and electrical.
Right. The guide focuses heavily on Virginia. If a veteran was, say, a Navy hull maintenance technician working on complex shipboard plumbing systems, they can't just move to Richmond, declare themselves a plumber, and start taking commercial contracts.
No, absolutely not. Because plumbing and electrical systems directly impact public health and safety, the state heavily regulates who can touch those systems.
So what's the process in Virginia?
In Virginia, obtaining a state plumbing or electrical trade license requires navigating a mandatory 3-step legal roadmap. And this is where a lot of veterans hit a wall if they aren't prepared.
Let's break down the mechanics of those 3 steps. What is step 1?
Step 1 is satisfying the required education and training hours.
Okay, classroom time.
Right. But the massive advantage here is that military technical training schools often fulfill a large percentage of these academic requirements. You aren't starting from scratch.
That's great. What's step 2?
Step 2, and honestly this is the most critical hurdle, is documenting your specific work experience hours for the state credentialing boards.
Because you have to prove you actually did the work.
Yes. You must prove empirically that you have the required thousands of hours of hands-on time in the trade.
And this is where the translation really matters. It honestly reminds me of passing a rigid military inspection.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, like in an inspection, it doesn't matter how well your gear actually works. If your paperwork is out of compliance, you will fail.
You absolutely will.
The credentialing board is the same way.
Yeah.
A veteran can't just hand over a military performance review that says they, executed mission-critical fluid transfer operations.
No, the board won't know what to do with that.
Right. They have to translate that military occupational task code into the exact civilian competency log the state board requires.
Proving they installed specific linear feet of piping or tested specific pressure valves.
Exactly.
That is a perfect analogy. The boards do not speak military jargon, and frankly, it is not their job to learn it.
It's on you to translate it.
It is the veteran's job to provide the translation. This is exactly why the guide emphasizes leaning on veteran mentors.
People like Dr. Arnold.
Exactly. People who have already navigated these credentialing boards, they know how to cross-reference military training manuals with civilian apprenticeship requirements so that every single hour of your service counts toward your civilian license.
Okay, and once that paperwork is squared away and approved, what's step 3?
Step 3 is sitting for and passing the required state licensing examinations.
The actual test.
Right. Once you clear that exam, you achieve journeyman status. And from there, with additional time and experience, you can eventually test for master status.
And that master license is kind of the holy grail, right?
It really is. That master license is the key to maximum earning potential. It gives you the legal ability to supervise other journeymen and the legal authority to pull permits to run your own contracting business.
Which is massive. So to make this mapping process really concrete for the listeners, let's take some specific military roles from the sources and trace their direct lineage to high-growth civilian trades.
Okay, let's do it.
We mentioned infrastructure earlier. Let's look at combat engineering.
Oh, combat engineering is one of the most direct translations we have.
Really? How so?
Well, combat engineers are tasked with constructing temporary military structures, reinforcing defenses, building bridges, frequently under intense logistical or environmental pressure.
Yeah, literal combat zones.
Exactly. That specific skill set maps immaculately to a specialized civilian role called form carpentry.
No, wait. Form carpenters aren't just framing houses, right?
No, they are building the infrastructure molds.
Explain that for us.
Form carpenters construct the temporary, highly precise wooden or metal structures, which are the molds that hold thousands of pounds of liquid concrete in place until it cures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is how we build highway overpasses, commercial foundations, bridge supports. It requires advanced blueprint reading, an understanding of load-bearing physics, and extreme precision.
Which a combat engineer already understands perfectly.
Exactly. Structural support and rapid, precise assembly is what they do.
And the sources show that engineering experience naturally extends into block and stone masonry as well.
Absolutely. The Masonry Careers infographic points out that masons are essential for everything from commercial hospitals to historic restoration.
And it's a very stable career field.
Highly durable, recession-resistant field, the physical stamina, the spatial reasoning, and the rigid adherence to structural codes required in military engineering. I mean, those are the exact baseline traits needed to lay brick and block structures that will safely stand for a century.
That makes so much sense. Now, building the infrastructure is one side of the coin, but keeping that infrastructure supplied, moving the materials to build it, is an entirely different logistical beast.
It really is.
Which brings us to the military logistics roles.
Right. Military logisticians move astronomical amounts of tonnage every single day. That operational background aligns perfectly with heavy equipment operation and supply chain management in the civilian sector.
And just like we discussed with BIM earlier, heavy equipment operation today is highly technological, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Operating an excavator today isn't just about pulling hydraulic levers.
Right. The sources highlight that modern motor graders and bulldozers utilize GPS machine control and telematics.
Yes, telematics are huge now.
So, for a listener who might not know, telematics is essentially the technology that transmits real-time data, like fuel consumption, engine diagnostics, and GPS location, from the equipment back to a central command dashboard,
Exactly. And a military logistics specialist is already primed for that environment.
because they're used to the data.
They are accustomed to coordinating complex, data-driven supply networks. They understand spatial awareness on a chaotic site, safety coordination among multiple moving elements, and the absolute necessity of preventative equipment maintenance.
Okay, let's look at one more translation focusing on the high-tech side.
Sure.
What happens to the veterans who spent their service maintaining advanced communications arrays, IT networks, or radar systems?
Those veterans are positioned to dominate some of the highest-paying, most complex trades in the market. Two prime examples are HVAC controls technicians and industrial electricians.
Now, an HVAC controls tech is not out there changing air filters, right?
No, definitely not. They're programming highly complex building automation systems, calibrating environmental sensors, and managing software that controls the energy grid of entire skyscrapers.
Wow. And the industrial electrical side relies heavily on PLCs, right? Programmable logic controllers.
Yes, PLCs are essentially the ruggedized industrial computers that act as the brains behind automated manufacturing lines, robotics, and renewable energy grids.
So how does a radar tech make that jump?
Well, if a veteran was able to troubleshoot the logic gates on a military radar system or maintain a ship's electronic warfare suite, learning to program a PLC for a civilian building automation system is a highly natural, highly lucrative pivot.
But the transition isn't completely frictionless, obviously.
No, there are definitely barriers.
We touched on the paperwork hurdle,
Yeah.
but according to the sources, what is the biggest barrier veterans face when trying to enter these highly competitive tech and trade markets?
I would say the most significant barrier is redundancy.
Meaning what, exactly?
Wasting months or years relearning systems they have already mastered.
Oh, that sounds frustrating.
Extremely. The actionable strategy to overcome this is meticulous cross-referencing. Veterans must secure the syllabus for their specific military training courses and map it directly against the civilian apprenticeship curriculum.
So you basically have to advocate for yourself.
You have to advocate for yourself to the credentialing boards, presenting the data to say, my 16-week military electronics course covered these exact 6 modules of the civilian electrical apprenticeship.
And if you do that,
If you can prove that equivalency, you strip away redundant training time and drastically accelerate your path to a journeyman license.
which leads perfectly into the concept introduced in section 1 of the source text, which is lean manufacturing.
Ah, yes. Lean.
Now, I have to admit, when I first saw lean manufacturing in the guide, I immediately associated it with like automotive assembly lines or a factory floor.
Right, like a Toyota plant.
Exactly. But reading deeper, I realized the author is presenting this as both a macro transition strategy and a micro job site operational tactic.
That is exactly how it should be interpreted.
So explain that for us.
Well, at its foundational level, lean manufacturing is a systematic approach to identifying and eliminating waste to maximize value. It is basically a philosophy of continuous improvement.
Okay, sure.
And veterans can weaponize this concept in 2 very distinct ways.
Let's look at the personal macro application first. The guide discusses a lean tool called value stream mapping.
Yes.
Usually, a company uses that to analyze every step required to bring a physical product to a customer looking for bottlenecks. But a veteran can use value stream mapping on their own career timeline.
Precisely. In this scenario, the product is the veteran's state licensure, and the customer is the future employer.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
You map out every single administrative and educational step required to get from your military discharge date to holding that master license in Virginia.
And what does that mapping do for you?
By visually mapping it out, you immediately spot the waste.
Like the redundant training we just discussed.
Exactly. Or perhaps pursuing a low-level certification that civilian employers don't actually value. You eliminate those steps, streamlining your timeline to maximum earning potential.
So you are applying a supply chain optimization tool to your own life.
Exactly.
Now, what happens when they apply lean principles on the actual job site once they are hired as a superintendent or a project manager?
This is where a veteran's value to an employer just skyrockets. Construction sites are inherently chaotic. Applying lean principles drastically improves site productivity.
The text specifically highlights a lean workplace organization method called 5S.
Yes, 5S is crucial.
Right, which stands for sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain.
Yep, those are the 5.
When I read that, it instantly clicked for me. To a civilian management consultant, 5S sounds like a, modern efficiency framework. But to a military veteran, 5S is just standard operational procedure.
It really is.
It mirrors military PMCS, which is preventative maintenance checks and services, almost exactly.
It is the exact same DNA. I mean, sort and set in order dictates that tools, materials, and heavy equipment are staged precisely where they are needed for the next day's workflow.
Eliminating wasted motion and search time.
Exactly. Shine is the equivalent of PMCS. It's the daily inspection and maintenance of equipment to prevent catastrophic breakdowns.
And the last two.
Standardize and sustain is about building a site culture of rigid discipline. When a veteran superintendent implements 5S on a commercial build, they drastically reduce equipment downtime, tighten safety perimeters, and massively boost the daily output of the site.
And civilian employers pay a massive premium for someone who can generate that kind of systemic efficiency, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. The sources indicate that veterans who pair their trade skills with formal Lean certifications, like a Lean Six Sigma Green or Black Belt, become incredibly rare assets.
What kind of numbers are we talking about there?
We are looking at earning potentials for a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, ranging from $90,000 up to $135,000 annually.
Because you're solving systemic problems.
You are no longer just the technician fixing the wiring, You are the architect, optimizing the operational flow of the entire contracting firm.
And that really highlights the broader thesis of the guide. Professional certifications and structured apprenticeships are not just about securing a paycheck next month.
No, they are the building blocks of long-term career advancement.
Civilian employers covet military discipline because it is the bedrock required to implement complex, high-yield systems like lean manufacturing in environments that are naturally prone to chaos.
Exactly.
So, synthesizing everything we've covered today from Dr. Arnold's guide and the trade data, if you are a veteran, you already possess the foundational technical aptitude, the risk management discipline, and the leadership capacity demanded by the modern civilian trades.
It's already there.
The challenge is simply translation. By leveraging apprenticeships to bypass traditional HR algorithms, meticulously mapping your military hours to satisfy state credentialing boards, and applying lean optimization principles to streamline your transition timeline, you are positioning yourself for a highly lucrative, long-term career.
The primary takeaway is really understanding your inherent market value. You are not starting from scratch.
All right, you're just pivoting.
You are simply acquiring the specific industry context and the legal licenses to validate the skills you spent years perfecting. The roadmap is there, provided by mentors who have walked the path before you.
But there's one final concept here that I think completely reframes the end goal of this transition. We discussed how perfectly military command experience translates to civilian project management and general contracting.
Yes, we did.
And that naturally leads to the most provocative idea in the trades, which is entrepreneurship.
Yes.
If your leadership skills scale to managing a massive commercial job site, why stop at being the employee?
Exactly. I mean, the ultimate realization of this transition isn't just to get hired as a master plumber or an electrical superintendent.
What is it then?
The ultimate goal is to leverage your veteran status, acquire your master licenses, and eventually own the contracting business itself.
Because once you own the firm, you control the hiring pipeline.
Exactly. You become the general contractor. You build wealth, establish long-term stability, and most importantly, you create the exact structured environment needed to hire, train, and mentor the next generation of transitioning service members.
Wow.
You transition from utilizing Dr. Arnold's guide to becoming the mentor that the guide represents.
You stop worrying about how to fit your 220-volt experience into someone else's 110-volt system, and you just build your own power grid.
That is the perfect way to summarize it.
You have the blueprint, you have the skills. Now it's time to build the legacy.
Precisely.
Thanks for exploring this deep dive with us today. Keep mapping your future, and we'll catch you on the next one.